Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of our live sessions for our Intro to Esports course. My name is Bennett. I work with Michigan Virtual, who is hosting the course. And Marcus and Aziza, do you want to give an introduction of yourself?
Aziza, please.
Uh, Hi, I'm Aziza Brown. I'm the owner of Dynamic Focus, which is a grassroots esports team. We focus in on fighting games, and we we tour. We go to the leagues for that. We also do events, and we do a lot of. We're starting to do more charity events too. I also am the one of the staff for the Queen of the Hill series, which is a series for women, non-binary, and femme-identifying people to be recognized for their accomplishments in esports and their skill. So, and I also am a part of TO Talks, which is about TOs, tournament organizers, um, talking about different things that are happening in the fighting game industry and in the esports field, and it's basically more off the cuff, but yeah, that's what I do.
Excellent. Thank you, Aziza. I'm Marcus Howard. For those of you who joined us last week, I'm the CEO of MetaArena. My team combines education with entertainment to basically turn a brand of any size in any industry into a gaming company so they can use video games to engage authentically both employees and customers, and in this case, students, to support school education goals. So, Aziza, thank you for joining us. Bennett and I were just joking with you before we went live that you are also one of the professionals who wears many hats. Can you talk a little bit about how you got into esports and the idea, the inspiration for Dynamic Focus?
Okay, so many hats. Um, so I will call it the Muggle struggle. Um, my job that I do, I am an engineer for the distribution for New York City, power distribution for New York City. So what happened, how I got into esports is that New York used to have a whole bunch of arcades all over the place when I was younger, and we used to go to the arcades all the time and interact and everything like that. A lot of these places closed down, so to supplement them, people like us who remembered arcades would make just gamer events where we all meet up after work. So since that happened, I got to meet people who were in who are doing who were actually competing in games. So I got to know where tournaments were. And by learning about tournaments and everything like that through my platform and everything like that, I got to get into esports. I got to join a team. I was a project manager for that. And then I just splintered off and I started my own thing. And this is how Dynamic Focus was born. Um, but a little bit about my old stuff too, because of many hats. I was a photographer for esports. So dynamic focus is how I shot in my the all the different, because I use Sony cameras, and they have a thing called dynamic focus. So that's where everything comes from. The hawk, the vision, and they have a shutter eye in the left eye. So
I
that's
didn't know
the
that.
deal. Yeah.
Incredible story. Quick housekeeping item. For those of you who are joining us live, if you have any questions, feel free to ask those and type those in the chat. Bennett will see them. I'm on my cell phone actually because my kids broke the camera on my laptop. I have a replacement tomorrow, but I can't see those questions, but I'm sure Bennett can see them and promote them or add them to the discussion. Aziza, it's amazing that you mentioned kind of building a business to solve a need, because as you and I have a conversation about regularly in esports, a lot of what's happening in esports, the most popular stuff isn't really solving a problem, like filling a need. But you also mentioned starting from arcades, and I can't remember the article, but I've seen it referenced several times that arcades are really kind of the foundation, the genesis of esports. Can you talk a little bit about that from your perspective?
So a lot of the whole thing is that a lot of the pro players from New York City start originated from the arcade era, which is basically you would like personally for me, my story of starting of the arcades is basically me learning how to do laundry at 8 years old and walking across the street to do laundry because there's an arcade machine in the laundromat, and we used to play like Street Fighter and stuff like that at the laundromat, and or going out and get pizza, and there's a arcade machine there at the bodegas. There were arcade machines there, and then somebody would tell you that there was a popular arcade. Um, Chinatown Fair usually comes up. Wasn't able to go to Chinatown Fair because it was too far away, and my parents knew that it was a little bit of a dangerous area back in the days because there were gangs. um, and told me a Broadway arcade, Peter Pan arcade, and stuff like that. Once I was able to take the bus out there to different places in Queens, but that all started from us actually finding a place, joining together, and then competing amongst each other. And then somebody would just go and say, "Hey, there's a tournament somewhere," and you're like, what? What you mean a tournament? And it's like, there's a tournament here, and you would literally just walk into a tournament, and and then those people will tell you about regionals and nationals and all this other stuff, and that's how it blossomed from there. That's how everyone's esports career in the fighting game community actually started. Is basically word of mouth,
Mhm.
you know. So
That's important. Word of mouth. It's still today, even in this tech age, the most effective form of advertising, right? And
yes, it really
one
is
of
the most effective form of advertising. Talking about your community, talking about what you're doing is the most important thing you can actually do. Um, you don't need TV advertisements or anything like that. It's basically making sure that you talk about what's going on. Um, really, really builds and helps um, anything that you do.
And I think that's a major difference between I think the success that you've seen in your perspective versus kind of I'll call it status quo or mainstream esports is you've mentioned in just this short few minutes we've been talking community several times,
Mm.
and I'd like to believe that while you're talking about and referring to community, what we hear all the time in mainstream status quo esports is fandom, and I don't think those are the same thing.
They're not. They're not the same thing. Fandom is more like distant, like I cheer you on and stuff like that. Community is more like you know the you like you don't have to know the person, but you know what they're doing and how it affects you and everything that is around you, and basically communicating through different people about what's going on is key. And a lot of these tier one companies now are now listening to community and now doing things for community. So it's it's a different ball game whatsoever. Like before, like I'm gonna press buttons and somehow I'm gonna get sponsored. That's not the deal anymore. The deal is that you're now interacting with people on a different level to for everyone to benefit from it. Like your fans get entertained. Some of them learn how to play better, and we build the community of the game with each other.
One of the things that we talk about often on LinkedIn is the concept of genres. So for the kids who are joining and don't quite understand that, maybe they do if they're playing a lot of games. Can you
Mm.
explain what genres are and why genres are so critical to the scalable success of esports?
Okay, so there's different genres of games. So like I mentioned that I'm part of the fighting game community, which is basically Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, all these other games where well Mortal Kombat you have to have your parents' permission to actually compete in because you're under the age of 17. But like King of Fighters, all these fighting games, right? And Smash is in the genre too, because they're a brawler. Um, there's League of Legends. Everybody knows about League. League is a MOBA, a mobile. Um, I
Online
forgot.
battle arena,
Online Battle Arena. Thank you.
no
Mobile.
problem.
Yes. So um, those those have huge, huge budgets and everything like that. Um, we have Rocket League, which is its own genre whatsoever. It's cars playing soccer. but it is considered a sports game too. And there's sports games like NBA 2K and everything like that. There's different types of genres, and it's important to know these things. Oh, I forgot about FPSs, what shooters and everything like that. Um, it's important to know about these things because when you go into esports, everyone just says esports, and they just put all video games in a bubble. It's like you going into a room and saying we're gonna play sports, and then every single sport is in a bubble, which is like basketball, baseball. They all have different rules, so they're different genres.
Mhm. And so our resident Rocket League expert, Bennett is our resident Rocket League expert. So I think you've educated him on some more information that maybe he didn't understand about the space. And I always learn from you on the daily. So thank you for sharing all of that.
Hmm.
Yeah, of course. And I will say I was very curious about how you were going to put Smash Bros in that same situation of fighters you were talking about. I want to go back to the idea of the arcade bar, because that's what it's kind of become, is almost this retro feel bar business model. What do you think supplements that arcade style of community growing up for kids today?
What actually for kids today, I would say LAN centers are the new arcades of today because you can actually go to a place with your friends, meet up. Some LAN centers have food and they have drinks and stuff like that, and you can drinks like soda and stuff like that. I'm not, but you can sit down there and you can talk amongst your friends. You can queue up on ranked with your friends and everything like that, and that's where community bonds are shared. Like everyone asks, like, "Oh, how can we build a community? How we like build the center? Like have a community center where you bring in computers or consoles and you can all have a potluck or just have like snacks or something like that. Build that kind of that arcade feel that we had where we used to gather around and talk to each other. Like um your schools can have clubs, like gaming clubs and everything like that, where everybody pitches in to bring in a console, and you have your community console that you lock up and have a teacher responsible for it, and you can build that arcade feel from being in a community and talking amongst each other and playing games with each other.
Aziza, I want to quickly follow up with that. I think that's a tremendous idea, and I think it's important, especially for schools that may be struggling with budgets. Right? There's
Hmm.
this misconception across all of esports. I think you'll agree that like you have to play on PC, and it has to be like an expensive machine. The more expensive, the better your chances of winning. And that's true to a degree, but I think it's also exclusive. Like you tell me all the time, structurally exclusive.
Hmm.
But if you think about like console gaming, instead of spending $5,000 on one machine, $5,000 could get you 10 setups, 10 console setups, right? Or
Hmm.
even if you don't even have 5 grand, you could have, like you said, either students and parents pitch in the same way you have like fundraising drives for local sports teams, or because it's consoles, like have either the teacher or the students bring one in. Like even today, people are playing the original Super Smash Brothers. That game's what now, like 20 years old.
Yeah.
You don't need like the PS5 or the Xbox Series S or X to have gaming engaged in schools. You can go use a great game. Great games are timeless, right? So you can use an older game and still engage, a current student with an older game.
Right. You can do that. You can also get involved with indie gaming and stuff like that, making sure that and what are indie games are basically they're small studios that make really good games like um my personal friends they've made from Decoy Games made Swim Sanity, which is basically Smash Brothers underwater. And basically you don't need like you can get a console and stuff like that. The developer will tell you the optimal ways to actually play their games because at the end of the day, esports values optimization because of basically when you get to a point when you're a pro, you start to see things like frames and you can hear things better than people because you're training your brain to do that. So the high end PCs and everything like that, not every single game is optimized for PC. And you have to learn which ones are and which ones aren't. And you can talk to the developers to learn about that too. And you get to understand what is best for you and your team and also the community because I'm betting that every single school is going to have like some kind of like like big community event so you can communicate with everyone in your like general area like your region and you can figure out what's best for everyone. um I know that I when it said that it's like you need for like games like League and everything like that you kind of do need those computers, but and you kind of need the internet, and I understand that to be be true. But another thing that you can also do is to um rally like your school and start to grow like start to talk about um how important it is for um a company that has good internet to build in your area to get better internet because it also helps you in the long run because COVID showed us that we really needed to work from home and some people didn't have the internet to do that, and building that infrastructure within I know I'm talking really big words right now, but your gaming actually helps out your neighborhood more than you actually think. You know, you demanding better internet and better something for your neighborhood actually helps your parents and the people that come into your neighborhood in the long run.
No,
That's a
you're
great
right.
way
You're
of
right.
looking at it.
It's high speed internet that you need to do basically anything. Like even this conversation,
Yeah,
we're having it again. I'm on my cell phone, so if I didn't have good bandwidth or internet connection on my phone through the cellular network or whatever, even my Wi-Fi, we might not be having. It might just be the two of you talking, right?
yeah.
All right, here's my pitch for what I've always wanted. So let me know what you think. I've always wanted libraries to become the new internet cafes where they had that South Korean like style internet cafe feel to it, and it would be able to combine the exposure of the books with the new computers that would bring kids in. Because I remember going to the library all the time. I know all those books aren't being read. I know they would still go, and there's that infrastructure since we're using that as the big word of the day already built out in every single city that we're referring to where we want more internet. So you could start at the library, which is going to be closer to a downtown setting, which has more access. Put some infrastructure in there so you don't have to do it for every school. Probably could get some support funding, and then you could just have kids playing video games at libraries. And that's how I've always seen the next 10 years going. But I don't really know if that's true or not. That's just how I've always romanticized it inside my head.
You know the New Jersey library system you can actually borrow video games.
Really? It's like a
Hmm.
rental situation?
They have a rental situation.
Okay. That's
And
pretty.
it's pretty neat and it's like literally like your pitch is actually like one of the bigger pitches that I have because of the fact that like um making sure that there's a place that has the internet that everyone needs to build and grow is extremely important for the long run, the longevity of your neighborhood. And people don't see it now, but as jobs go into like more like more hybrid and we're not moving as most of our businesses can be done from home. It's important to be able to connect to the internet, and not everyone in America can connect to the internet, and that's a very um real thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm sure you know Keisha Howard, Aziza. She's up
Yes,
in
I do.
Chicago, and she introduced me to this concept called digital redlining, and that describes what you're describing here. So, Ben, I don't know if you're familiar with redlining, but
I'm very as I said before, I'm an engineer, so I'm very, 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 very knowledgeable about redlining.
so can you explain it for Bennett and maybe the students who are tuning in what redlining is, and then what digital redlining is?
So redlining is basically in terms of because
Real estate. Let's go with
real
real estate.
estate,
Home ownership.
real estate.
Yeah.
Basically, they actually had on digital and records for mapping records. Red lines were where people can actually live and what their access to. So the same thing happens with digital redlining. Basically, you can whatever neighborhood you live in is basically what kind of internet or telecommunications you have.
Or don't
I've
have.
been or don't have. You can telecommunications redlining is a thing. I've spoken about it in plenty of panels where where you live is very important when it comes to what services you get for internet because um the what you call the power companies, I mean the telecommunication companies have to build the wires to your neighborhood, and if they don't build there, they don't build there.
I don't know if you know John Cash he teaches at Johnson C. Smith University, and I think he's an advisor for community. I was just talking to him, I guess that was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he was saying where he lives near Charlotte, North Carolina,
Hmm.
wherever it is, and I'm blanking on the city name, or it might even be Charlotte. His city ranks like the highest or lowest for upward mobility. So, like, because of what we're describing here,
Hmm.
wherever kind of socioeconomic status you were born into, you don't have the ability to like upgrade that for yourself and for your family, for your community.
Yeah, like um for me, I literally I live in a cable neighborhood, meaning that I will never see fiber optic in my community probably for another if they started now and they started building out now, I probably won't see it for another to 8 months to year and a half because they have to dig up the streets to put the fiber optic duct in and then to put the fiber optic cable through to actually start building the fiber optic network. And literally the guy came up to me and was like, "Hey, do you want to? We're getting you high speed internet." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. What is it? Is it fiber optic? Because I didn't see the ducts going through." And they say, "No, that's not. That's not it. It's a. We just put a satellite there, and you get satellite." I'm like, "Okay, cool. That's not the internet I want. I want
No one
really
wants
fast.
satellite
No
nowadays.
one
No,
wants
no.
satellite." I was just sitting there here, go like, "Oh man, I wish cable will upgrade because that's all you like." It's
Hmm.
one of those things where it's like I get it. Like I used to live in a fiber optic neighborhood, and I moved back to this neighborhood for family reasons, and I'm like, damn, I really, really want this. I mean, dang. Sorry.
I can relate to that because
Ye-
growing up in Michigan, I lived on a small city that bordered a river, which was the international border between Michigan and Canada. So
Mm,
as a kid, we didn't know any different other than poor reception when you were downtown, because all of a sudden you
mm.
got Canada and you got America right here, and your phone doesn't know which one it wants to hook up to.
Yeah,
So when the city decided they wanted to start doing more events and stuff downtown, they actually implemented Wi-Fi throughout, just like a citywide Wi-Fi. Now, again, this is a smaller town, but it's not like these things aren't happening to some extent already. It's definitely possible.
definitely.
Yeah.
Aziza, you mentioned you started as a photographer. That's how you got into esports. Uh, can you talk about your experience getting that opportunity and how, this the program that we're doing here is about the different career opportunities: entrepreneur, organizer, content creator. I always forget the fourth one. Bennett, can you help me with the fourth one?
I cannot. Sorry, you
All
put
right.
me on
Well,
the
we
spot
have
there.
three or four. It'll kind of be like 3 days from now at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Exactly.
Aziza, can you talk about some of the other opportunities you have created for your team to help get other people into esports?
Okay, so my team mostly does tournament organizing, and they do commentary or casting. Um, Most of these people have the skill set already. So like for casting, doing esports or esports casting, I would say that you would try to learn public speaking a lot, or doing something along those lines. If your school still has a school radio, do that. Um, Getting into sports casting is great for esports casting because it's similar, but a lot of people who are part of the esports who did both literally said that it was easier to do esports casting because they actually competed, so they understood the stress and everything that people go through esports, so they were able to cast better and be able to be more of a talent caster, because there's different types of casters too. There's there's color casters, which color casters are people who are more emotional, or they hype up the game a lot, or technical casters that talk about the tech about the game and teach tech while casting. And then there's the personal or story casters who learn about the players and who are playing the games and literally talk about the players and everything like that while they're casting. I talked about casters, journalists. We need a lot of journalists in esports, and journalism is like a little bit of a tough area in esports because not a lot of people respect it, but it should be respected because you need somebody talking about you and broadcasting um these different events. Um, as you develop your careers, you go to college. One of the biggest ones that are going to be in full demand when you get older is occupational therapists, physical therapists that are involved in gaming, because as your games, you do a lot of wear and tear your hands. You're sitting in one position a lot. People need to be able to diagnose any type of diseases that come from elongated play and gaming. Another one that's really important is lawyers and learning law. Another thing that's really important is accounting, because not a lot of people right now, um, when tax season comes around, not a lot of tax professionals understand gaming, so they can't help streamers or content creators or esports people with their taxes and their bills, and telling them how to save up, and also a lot of we say financial literacy is not very strong in the community, so we need those people to teach others about financial literacy or help them out with it. So it's it's a big thing.
I only know one esports accountant, and I don't know everyone in gaming and esports, but I only know one. And as I understand it, there's a gaming lawyer who's in Orlando, and I talked to him, and he said there's only like somewhere between like 10 and 30 gaming lawyers, like
Yeah, there's only 10 to
globally.
30 globally.
Yeah.
10 or
So
Wow.
yeah,
30
you're right.
gaming lawyers. There's only a few of them. There's only a few accountants. I know a gaming accountant, and if you follow Dragon Ball Z fighters and you know the commentator Acoustics, um, then you'll know that he actually is a certified On he's a certified accountant.
That's
Oh
awesome.
wow.
Yeah, he's certified. He knows how to. He will help you with the tax code and everything like that. Listening in on this commentary when he's not doing it for the leagues, I'm just gonna warn you, he's not somebody you'll play in front of your parents.
Hey, can we talk about the taxes for a second? Because you're naming everything that the past generation was saying they wish they taught in schools, regardless of it being esports or not. So
Yeah.
this seems something like, even though it's growing pains for the industry, it seems like something that's pretty topical for everywhere. If a kid gets really good at a game and he becomes an esports pro, they're going to be talking to organizations they've all like never talked to before and be put in a lot of these new situations. What are they signing when they secure a contract to play a game? And does it depend on the game, or how does that work?
It depends on the game. It depends on the team. It depends on the brand. It depends on everything. It's just it literally. Um, you have good contracts. You have bad contracts. If you're signing a bad contract, it's usually around 3 pages. Um, Good contracts usually are very they're they're very huge. They're supposed to be huge documents because they're supposed to be down to the letter an agreement on every single faction of what everything should be divided up. Like you need to divide up what's your rights to your content, what's their rights to your content,
Mm-hmm.
what's how much you get paid for anything that you do amongst them. Do you when you separate, what do you own, what you don't own? Um, do you leave? Is any branding contracts um your something that you leave with, or do you get separated from every single brand contract? There's so much that has to be discussed during a contract that if it's 3 pages, there's absolutely no way that you can actually figure out the legalities of every single thing that you do.
Yeah, I think even recently, well, not recently now, it's been a couple of years. Tifu, or however you pronounce his name, correct me, Aziza, but
Mhm.
Tifu was supposed to be joining FaZe Clan, and then he decided not to join, and there was a huge like legal battle because of the contract that he signed. And I have
Yeah.
heard other gaming and esports lawyers warn about those contracts because essentially what's happening is like I would say organizations that are generally run by younger adults, but older than the talent they're signing, they're leveraging that age gap to take advantage of the opportunity with predatory terms. Either like the terms are predatory, or the fact to Aziza's point, the fact that the agreement isn't detailed enough to cover all these gotchas and important topics. The average 15-year-old is not going to know what to look for. They're just going to
Yeah.
sign the paperwork because they want to be cool.
Yeah. Um, just remember, like, one of the biggest things that I tell my team is that whenever I would send you a piece of paper, I'm not your friend no more. That's very important to understand. No matter how nice somebody is to you, whatever's on that paper is whatever's on that paper. Never ever sell when everybody says, "Oh, don't worry about it," worry about it because it's very important. I literally am sitting down here in in an agreement, like, because somebody in my team signed an agreement. I cannot talk about the the company that they signed for because there is a clause in their contract that says if I say something bad about them, they have to they have to defend their contract. So if they're doing something wrong and it has to be if they the only thing that they can do is something legally wrong. If they do something morally wrong, I can't talk about it.
Yeah, I think that's part of the problem with esports now. The ecosystem
Yeah.
we have this bubble is that I keep meaning to talk about this on LinkedIn. Maybe in a couple of weeks or so. Caesar, welcome to join you in that conversation. Is
Mhm.
I think there's kind of like a cone of silence is like a triangle, right? It's like on one side of the triangle, it's investors. It's another side, it's the teams, and then like the ancillary businesses and or players for the teams who aren't executive leadership, who are bound by NDAs. So they
Yeah,
see things bad that are happening, but because of the nature of their contract, they are literally forbidden from mentioning it.
you're
Otherwise,
mentioning it.
they can get
But
sued.
one of the most powerful tools that everyone should know, if they are breaking the law, then NDA is broken.
Mhm.
If you know for sure if someone is breaking the law, you can talk about everything because the NDA doesn't protect somebody from breaking the law.
That's a gem right there.
Yeah.
But if there's only 10 to 30 lawyers in the esports community globally, for every time that someone breaks the law, there's probably not enough work to keep up with that. You know what I mean? It seems very organization friendly in this instance.
In this instance, it is, but at the same time, if you know, knowledge is power, and if you know that what someone's doing is like illegal, the lawyers that are part of the esports ecosystem, they're easy to find and they're easy to talk to because not a lot of people know they exist. Like that's the reason why there's 10 to 30 lawyers in the esports ecosystem. It's because not a lot of people know lawyers exist or esports lawyers exist, or they'll go to a regular lawyer and ask for help. But the reason why esports lawyers are a little bit more of a gem is because they're very, very knowledgeable in contract law, and contract law is a very, very, very difficult part of law. So having an esports lawyer or having a contract lawyer around will help you out with a lot of things that are going on in esports, or being able to find one. Um, my lawyer is Roger Quillis, and he's easy to find on Twitter.
Roger's in the book. Oh, so
Roger,
Aziza's in the book, and Roger is also in the book.
yes,
Oh, nice. You both made it. Well, let me
yeah.
say this. I feel left out. So there you go. There you go. I got onto this train too late. I should have gotten in the book.
Next year's book. Next year's
Next
book.
year.
Heard. Heard.
That's awesome. Aziza, can you talk a bit more about some of the other, I'm going to call them non-traditional esports roles. And when I say traditional, I'm talking about like playing professionally and being a content creator as traditional roles. But you just mentioned some important ones that are traditionally like non-traditional roles you wouldn't think of off the top of your head, like legal and accounting being two big ones. And obviously you did photography. I think most, I would say kids or most people in general don't think about that you need a photographer in order to capture what's happening at the event.
Yeah.
Can you share some other examples of non-traditional roles where maybe even somebody who's watching this who's not a kid is working in their career right now and they could be doing the exact same thing in the gaming industry, but they don't know that those opportunities exist?
Yeah. I mean, there's videographers, editors for video and stuff like that. There's people who just do audio because audio is important when it comes to different events, because learning how to balance your acoustics for a large event is so important for esports, because everybody likes to go and say all I need is a computer and a camera and I'm good. No, you need to actually be able, and then when they listen to the video recording, it's a mash of horrible audio, and the reason why is because no one's there to actually understand the soundboard. Understanding that is great, and it's very valuable. Um, I was thinking of another one. Me as a photographer, like I wouldn't understanding video game photography is actually another important one too. Um, I use steady state lens, and I would like go in there, and I I don't use flash as much because I have to have a certain flash to make sure that I don't blind people while I shoot, because one of the biggest problems and that a lot of photographers go through is they come in with a flash for flash photography, and they'll flash, during a tournament and you're like, "Oh no, you're blinding people while they're playing." And
Mm.
that's not a good thing at all. um can start like a lot of arguments that aren't necessary in a space. Um uh being a tournament organizer, actually understanding the rules and the of the space. Like everybody's like, oh, I can just do a tournament, and if you don't know how to do brackets, you don't know how to seed brackets, you don't know how to um you don't understand the logic that comes in when it comes to um putting certain matches on stream and stuff like that. That could um that could kill a broadcast because everybody's like, I don't know what's going on here. Having a person that's really good at understanding the production of these things are important too. Creating ads, learning about ads and learning about marketing, um, understanding influencing marketing, like understanding um, just blading, like understanding when you're supposed to post something, when you're supposed to not post something, how to communicate with other people and on social media. Very important because like most of your engagement comes from your posts, comes from the videos that you post and all the things that you talk about your team. Um, it's it's one of those things where it's just like having understanding how to communicate is also very important with esports.
I have a question for you as a team owner. It's probably a hot take from your perspective. But today, coincidentally, of all days in the year, FaZe Clan has recently gone public
Mm.
at $1 billion valuation, and as of about half an hour ago, the stock price has adjusted a negative. Someone's calling me. Sorry, a negative 30%. What are your thoughts on so this might be kind of complicated. So let me try to simplify. What is going public something that every organization should aspire to? And B, how do we create more accessible funding and brand engagement opportunities for more grassroots communities like Dynamic Hope?
Eh. I mean, having the opportunity to actually talk and speak about who I am, what I do, and everything like that, that helps me out a lot when it comes into the space. Like, I mean, my goal in the scheme of things isn't to go public, but at the same time, if I do, I do. Um, if that valuation becomes something of a feasibility. Um, but the truth of the matter is that when it comes to grassroots and different companies in the tier 2 tier 3 space, the biggest things that we can do to grow is to communicate and to tell people that we exist, so that, and also networking outside of esports so more people can know about esports and how it exists. Because a lot of times with a lot of teams, they become very like insular inside the gaming community, and they don't like reach out to, let's say, the fishing store nearby, even though the guy that owns the fishing store is probably like uh, a uh, a gamer that likes to sit down and watch YouTube videos all day and wouldn't know where esports are, or the game that he likes to watch all day is an esport. Like, the truth be told, there's a lot of people that play the games that esports is all about, but don't even know that competitions exist because
How
it's not
often do you
communicated.
How often do you see that affecting tournaments? Because you've said you've hosted a couple, and recently Gamers Without Borders overseas just started with some of the biggest prize pools that have ever been seen for these games. But no one knew about it the same way that more established, like within game tournaments are happening, whether that's because they don't have the same marketing as the actual games are putting out for their own tournaments. You would think if millions of dollars are on the lines, that is something that would entice more people to watch because the stakes are higher than it's ever been.
It's like a tree falling in the forest. If if no one's there to hear it, did it actually fall?
Right.
Yeah. So that's the truth of the matter, is that like esports um is not communicated to the general public. It's not communicated to other people, so that you like, not even in the gaming sphere is it communicated. So a lot of times a lot of people miss out on like the opportunities that actually exist because no one's talked about it on a general platform or anywhere else. So it's just like it kind of falls on deaf ears. Like you're telling me this, I never heard of that.
Me neither.
Yeah, I never heard of that. Like, and it's not like, oh, it's marketing or anything like that. It's just that they understand their bubble so much that they forget that outside the bubble, we don't even know that you exist. So you could tell me I'm throwing out $1 million out the window. If I don't know where it is, I'm not gonna get to it.
Right. Right. So on the flip side of that, I know that a lot of these communities are pretty strong, even if they're considered niche for these tournaments. And I know that a lot of games that we're hosting on Twitch platforms had looked at going on television for it to expand their audience and make it more accessible, which got a lot of rejection for a lot of reasons. But when you look at like accessing a lot of new audiences and being profitable outside of just evaluations, a lot of traditional sports rely on television contracts in order to keep on making that money and being profitable. Whereas a lot of these video games are on Twitch, essentially just putting it on a platform for close to free, with the exception of sponsors and things like that. So if you're hosting a tournament, what's the end goal? Like, where do you want it to be seen to get the most amount of viewers, and how do you see that growing?
Hmm. Um, that one is a trick question because we're still like literally fishing outside of our market to make sure that more people know that we exist. Like um basically I did a rival series tournament without Twitch rivals, and it didn't get many views because I couldn't go and say that this is, you know, basically, we had the equipment to do it without the blessing.
Hmm.
Um, but the truth of the matter is like uh, I'll say truth. But what the goal is just to kind of make sure that we're still growing and telling people that we exist, so that we have more noise about what we're doing. So it's more of a um yeah, I've television broadcast and everything like that. I've been there when it comes to television. Like I'm in Not a Game on Netflix. My team has been on TBS a few times. Um, my team member has been in Disney XD and for Injustice World. You know, like we're out there, even in television broadcasts, and still our numbers are too low to actually like to be a tier one because of the fact that it's communication. We're not like a lot of the people who are fans don't communicate that we exist, and we're building a community to talk about us, and not even the community, because everybody doesn't understand the power of their words, the power that, hey, this thing exists and I want it to exist. So I'm going to make sure it does. Like, um, I'm going to say something outside of esports of what I've done, which is I like Minecraft. a lot. I chill out. I play Minecraft on my off days whenever I want to just relax after work and everything like that. Cause it's, you know, easy game, survival, blah blah blah. Mojang didn't know that there is an audience that for people like me, you know, and there was a company that was, the company called Black Minecraft that was out there highlighting a space for people like me to just go there and chill out and play and be highlighted that they're content creators, and there is a community of a whole bunch of Minecrafters that love Minecraft, you know, who are like me. And I gave them an opportunity to be in a better space, and that company literally is trickling down so much opportunities for everybody to be highlighted and be seen, that it fills my heart with so much joy because I get to see people like me playing Minecraft and being catered to, you know? And it's not like it's something that it wasn't the biggest thing in the world, but it was just just putting them on a platform, just communicating, just making sure that they got opportunities. And when they got opportunities, they started trickling down opportunities to other people with VR and everything like that. Like, they're amazing, you know? So like, understanding the power of your position, your voice, and giving opportunities to people, you understand like how you can grow and everyone can grow at the same time to make sure that everyone is doing well, and also you're building something and building an audience for you and everybody else, you know? So I kind of digressed on that question, but it literally is like, because the thing is that the question that you gave me, um I don't see myself doing that by myself because it requires so many other people to be behind me and or be beside me to grow as well, you know, and also grow the audience as well so that we can actually function, you know.
Hmm. No, that answer was spoken by a true grassroots movement user, so I totally understand it and appreciate it. So,
Mhm.
did you? So, what's your out of the games, the fighting games that you promote? What's your favorite game, whether it was from the arcade or now?
Oh, right now I'm like, I love KOF 15. I love watching that. It's so much fun to watch because it's like there's so much tech and so much like craziness going on with it.
Mm,
Um,
That's King of Fighters, right?
yeah, King of Fighters
Okay.
15.
thank you.
Yeah. Sorry.
Even within the community, the acronyms get too much. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
feels
we
like I'm at work again.
yeah,
She
the
did that
acronyms
almost like reflexively, like she didn't even. It just right on top of her head. KOF
right up to the
15,
KOF 15.
rapid fire right there.
Yeah. I love watching that game. That game is so much fun to watch, and the community and everything like that for that game is so much fun to watch, and listen to the commentary for that. It's just great. It's a great game. Um, uh, I love. I had to put up my pictures from a Dragon Ball event that happened in the city, Heatwave, because I love Dragon Ball Fighters. It's actually really really hype.
Mm.
It's basically a fighting party game, but it's still a great game to play, to play and watch. Uh, I love. Okay, so I do have a love for Tetris Attack. Um, Back in the days, I would play it on the Super NES. Then it transferred to the DS with Puzzle Fighting League, and I used to walk around with my DS and just fight other people in in puzzle puzzle gaming league just to like get my fix from that game. So it was just like, that's one of my favorite games, and right now a spiritual successor is coming out called Spirit Swap by Soft Not Week, and I'm anticipating that game so much. But yeah,
Puzzle Fighter is totally underrated, and maybe we're talking about two different games. It's like the Street Fighter game you play
there's a
by
Street Fighter game. Okay, let's go. Street Fighter. This Puzzle Fighter is another game that I love, but my go-to like addictive game is Tetris Attack, which not a lot of people know about Tetris Attack. So Tetris Attack was using the Yoshi characters. It was a Nintendo game using the Yoshi characters, and basically, it was it was like the first match 3 game that actually came out, where you match 3 tiles together and it
Mm.
disappears and stuff like that, and then you could attack the other people by setting blocks to their um area. So that was like the actual first Tetris fighter, like battler out there. And now like there's so many people remember that game and they're making spiritual successors to that game
Mm.
because Nintendo's not going to do it. But anyway,
They did upload that game you're referring to on their online services. So if you pay
oh
for like the online service, you can play that game. I know because I played it twice.
yeah, you
Uh,
play Tetris Attack twice.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so now I have to go on their online services
Yep.
because if Tetris Attack is on that service, I'm back on that.
And I'm
It's
pretty sure you can
we
just play
need
against
a
other people.
Aziza Bennett battle. That's what we need.
Oh wow, yeah, that won't
yes.
be happening on any platform where people can see it. That'll have to be a behind closed doors battle. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
need that out there. Just knowing how bad I am at that game.
That's awesome. Well, Aziza, thank you for your time. This has been amazing. Can you let people know where they can find you and support you and find Dynamic Focus and support Dynamic Focus, the other various, as you mentioned at the top of the hour, so many hats you wear. Where can people support you and what you're doing? And thank you for your leadership in this space.
Okay, so you can find me on ZZ Down on Twitter, ZIZI Down. Um, you can find Dynamic Focus on every single platform, Twitter, Facebook, everything like that. It's on it's Dynamic with a K, Focus, and we're on TikTok, YouTube, everything. Um, and my closing statement, because I said I wanted to do this closing statement. Um, and for kids, if you want to get into esports and every single day and want to do your own business, do your homework. It's really important because it teaches you time management skills. And time management is something that's so important in your adult life. You don't know how that work life balance that everyone talks about. Man, if you just do your homework and teach yourself work life balance while you're young, wow. Adulthood is a little bit more easier.
The more you learn it now, the more time for Minecraft later.
Yeah,
How it
really.
works, yeah. And also don't, be sure to drink your Ovaltine or whatever I can add to that statement, Eat your vegetables,
Drink
all that
water.
stuff.
Eat your vegetables.
That's a
That's it.
heck of a mug, by the way. I've been waiting to say that until the end.
There you go. Oh, this is a Wild Bill's mug.
Oh.
Yeah. I go to
Oh,
too many conventions, so I have a few of them.
oh, I bet the merch is great for you.
Yeah.
With all the places you go to, I bet you have a
Yeah.
lot of good stuff.
I have a lot of good stuff.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and take this as the opportunity to do the whole down below thing because if you're looking to get a student into the Intro to Esports course, we still have enrollment available and you can click in the link below. I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye. Aziza and Marcus, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Ben. I appreciate it. Thanks, Aziza.
Thank you. I appreciate it.